Welcome to Q&A with, a show where I focus on the role behind the person to give you some insight into how to operate in their world. Hello, my name is Davo, and today we have
Shyam Patel. I'm a tattoo artist. I specialize in black and grey realism.
Could you please explain what black and grey realism is?
It's a art style in tattooing where it's more of a 3D realism effect tattoo. It's a lot different compared to the other tattoos you might see out there.
So with black and grey, it's mostly black ink, right?
Yeah, it's mostly black ink followed by a lot of lighter shades surrounding it. Yep.
I have noticed on some of your designs, you've used colour and you've coloured the eyes. Is that a new style or is that your unique style?
I would say there is quite a few artists that do use that style. It does bring out the design a bit more. It best works on animal designs, changing the colour of the eye, surrounding by a lot of black and grey realism work around it. So it makes it stand out a lot more. It catches your eye a lot more.
So what's the appeal of being a tattoo artist or, creating tattoos?
It's a satisfaction feeling where a client's just happy that you've done a good piece beyond their expectations. It's always an exciting feeling getting a tattoo. So making it the best experience for them, it changes your mood. It makes you feel a bit better. It's a good feeling. So
it's mainly about seeing a satisfied client and seeing how much joy you bring to them.
100%.
So then how did you get into the tattoo world in the first place?
It was a bit of a random one, but I bought a practice kit online and I've done a lot of practice on fake dummy kits, fake skin, and I got used to it pretty quick. And from there, I just ended up doing a few courses, health and safety courses, online courses to better my skills, follow a lot of online tutorials, and took it from there, really.
You mentioned online a lot, so most of it was self-taught. You didn't do any apprenticeships or internships in tattoo studios?
No, I did do a safety hygiene course because you're dealing with a lot of blood, so you need to know more about cross-contamination, infection control. So that side of things I did a course for, which is required by law. But other than that, I'm self-taught. I've watched a lot of online videos and stuff like that, so got my knowledge through that.
So the health and safety qualifications and the qualifications relating to that, was that done within an establishment or was that sort of home-based?
That was establishment. So there's a couple academies in the UK that do these courses. It is required. You can take the courses online as well. It is available online. But it just depends on which way you learn them the best, really.
So as you mentioned, you're dealing with people's skin, people's blood, and there's a lot of health and safety around that. So then does that mean there needs to be some sort of insurance in place? Yeah,
there has to be procedures, insurance, there has to be special agencies which dispose of bloody tissues, needles. So there is a bit of a process to it.
And that's another cost on top of?
Yeah, that's an extra cost. Insurance is a separate cost. The agencies to dispose of these needles and waste is a separate cost.
Okay, so earlier you mentioned that you practiced on dummies essentially.
Yep.
And then you worked yourself upwards onto actual body.
Yeah.
What about now? Do you still work on dummies or do you use software or?
I would say I use more software. Tattoo-wise, I know what I'm doing. So it's more about getting stencils. So I make a lot of stencils before I do the design. So I know what I'm doing. It's like a rough map for me to work with. I apply that stencil on the skin. So I know I can't go wrong. I know I'm sticking to the lines, and that way you get more confident doing the tattoo.
Speaking of skin, when you are tattooing a person, what would you say is the hardest body part?
The hardest body part I'd say is ribs. It's a lot more of a different skin texture compared to other body areas. The ink does not go in there straight away. You could take a couple passes. It could slow your whole process down 4 or 5 times than usual. So you could be stuck on an area for a long time. So yeah, I'd say ribs is a difficult area.
Okay, so ribs being, I guess, the most difficult area.
Yeah.
In general then, and perhaps as we already know, ribs will take a long time. So let's factor in that as well. What has been your longest session, and do you do multiple sessions for one tattoo design?
Depends on the size. So if it's like a back piece and it's detailed, you could be stuck on it for a couple sessions, long sessions. Ideally, my working day is anything from 5 hours to 8 hours. I feel like past the 8-hour point, the human body can't handle that much pain. So I do advise them to split into 2 sessions. So it all depends on the individual. Everyone has a different pain threshold.
I know you mentioned that you create concepts on an app, and you also used to, create designs on a dummy.
Yeah.
So then, would you say you're a bit old school in terms of how to draw, and being able to draw is a beneficial quality to have for a tattoo artist?
100%. Being able to draw it while you're during the tattoo process is more second nature. You don't have to follow a picture necessarily. You can, if you know what you're doing, like a second nature in the back of your mind, you can just go ahead with it. It saves you a lot of time. It might create a way better style than using a natural picture. So it's definitely beneficial knowing how to draw.
If you can give a rough figure, percentage-wise, how much of your tattoos are custom versus look at this design, I think this is good for you?
I would say 90% custom is what I specialize in mostly. If they do want something simple, I do always show them options of a custom piece. And most of the time they do like it, and they do end up going for the custom piece because no one else will have it. Is purely for them. Even though you might think there's something similar out there, it won't be the same. I've always done something that no one else could try to replicate in certain ways.
So then, sticking with the whole custom aspect here, what is the process from when a potential customer reaches out to you finishing the tattoo? How does it work?
So generally they would message me. They would show me the designs that they want. I would pass them a quote. They would pay a deposit. Once they paid the deposit stage, I would have a design ready for them. Once the design's ready and the day of the tattoo comes, they would come in. I would stencil. So if we're doing their arm, for example, I would stencil each design according to their arm shape. Everyone's got a different shaped arm. So make sure it's all wrapped around nicely, perfect size. And from there, the tattoo process begins.
I know you mentioned that you do custom tattoos or you have a portfolio to show potential customers tattoos, and I guess that may be a person who hasn't had a tattoo before wants to add another tattoo to themselves.
Yeah.
What about those who have a tattoo and it's bad and they want to cover it up or adapt it? Do you do that as well?
I do cover-ups if I know I can do something with it. A lot of tattoos are badly messed up and there's not a lot you can do to it. So if I know I can generally make a difference, I will take it on. So
I have absolutely no idea in terms of what a tattoo artist uses, the equipment, the software. Are you able to give a rundown of some of the software or the physical equipment and overall price in terms of everything?
So most artists will use an iPad or a computer to do most of the editing. They use softwares as Photoshop, or you could use Procreate, which is an easier version to use than Photoshop. There's a lot more editing tools out there. In terms of equipment, the tattoo gun's the most important thing. There's a lot of different specs which is tailored to a specific artist depending on their style. Tattoo guns can range from £50 all the way up to 1,500. So it just depends what's best suited for that individual person.
Let's move this on the focus on customers.
Yeah.
When you are tattooing a person, I assume they do. So the ones that do get nervous or scared or cry, how do you combat that? What do you do? Generally,
people will feel that sort of nervousness when they come in. It's all about conversating, making them feel relaxed. During long sessions of tattooing, the sugar levels do drop quite heavy because of the pain as a shock to their body. We always have sweets and snacks handy, which spike their sugar levels high, so their staying energized throughout the whole session. We let them put their choice of music. We conversate through them, like we constantly ask them, are you okay? Do you need to take breaks? We give them constant breaks. So once they feel like they're relaxed, they won't think about the pain as much as they would if it was a silent situation.
Of course, you're insured. You went through the qualifications. You are and you're experienced in what you do. But just in case anything does go wrong, for whatever reason that is, do customers also need to sign a waiver?
Yes, they would. In terms of, so things can go wrong. You can't stop it. There's always ways around it, but we need to know their medical history if they suffer with anything. They could be diabetic, and a shock of pain could put them in a seizure. They could faint. Anything could happen to them because their sugar level drops quite heavy. So it's just for our safety and their safety, so we know what we're doing, and it's their consent as well.
Okay, so it's not just a consent form as well. You need to do a background check on you as well. You need to make sure you give us the right information.
100%. Okay.
So with your artwork or your designs, how do you determine the price of some of your tattoos?
So normally we would see how much detail is involved, how long it could take, how big the design is, how many days it could take, how many sessions. So what we'll do is we'll just charge them day rates. If it does tend to be a big piece, the bigger it is, the longer days it is, we do give them a lot more of a discount. Otherwise, it tends to end up being quite costly. So we normally depends on that.
And I guess what is the most requested tattoo, whether on a particular body part or particular style?
I'd say the most requested is a lion, but there are a lot more other common ones that people go for, which is roses, clocks, doves, even tigers. So I'd say those 5 are the most.
What's the most popular body part?
Forearm. Yeah.
So
forearm.
sleeve tattoos.
Sleeve tattoos, yeah. That's what they generally start with, and then they move on from there.
So Shyam, you own your own tattoo parlor or tattoo studio. What would be the correct way to describe it?
Yeah, so we own this place. I'm in a partnership with 3 other people, 3 other artists, and we're all on a 25% split.
So then, managing or owning your own studio, what factors do you need to look out for in terms of, is it insurance, business rates?
Yeah, so there's a lot involved. There's the rents, there's the equipment cost, there's the stock cost, there's business rates, there's insurance, there's certain agencies, as I mentioned before, to dispose of waste material. There's a lot that goes in and out. There's the bills also. So there's a lot to manage, but if you're organized, it's a lot more simple.
I know I mentioned portfolio earlier, and I guess, going on your social media, you can class that as a portfolio in a sense, but how do you utilize social media? Is that to promote yourself? Is that for a portfolio?
So I would say it's portfolio, that's the main thing, but a lot of my customers do come from there. I would say 30% of my business is word of mouth, 20% is repeat customers, and 50% is through social media.
I've looked through your portfolio or your social media. I have some of my favorites. What is your favorite?
At the moment, I'm working on one of my favorite pieces. It's a back piece. It's going to be uploaded in the next few weeks. There's about 2 sessions left. I can only describe it right now. So it is an angel piece. There's a few angels on the back and there's a lot of detail around it. So I'd say it's still in the process.
Okay, hopefully by the time we release this video, we can insert that image. So then, what is your favorite tattoo that you have not developed? Okay,
so every time I get that, I always end up developing it. So at the moment, is the piece that I'm talking about. That's my undeveloped piece. But generally, like when I've got an idea in my mind, and a client does ask me for a tattoo which is slightly similar, I will always ask them, look, I've got this idea, do you want it? And I'll end up, you can never run out of ideas.
You try to one up what you've been shown.
Yeah, you can never run out of ideas.
So what skills or attributes do you need to be a tattoo artist?
Skill wise, you need a lot of patience. You need a lot of time. It is a slow game of learning. You can't learn it overnight. But you'll notice there's a lot of information. There's a lot of tutorials out there on YouTube. If you follow other artists' work and create your own style, it will definitely help.
And then lastly, and this is probably the most important question of the day, what song would you like to include in our playlist?
Gosh, do you know, it's a weird one. Yeah, all I can think is All of the Lights from Kanye West. I don't know why.
And that's what we're gonna put. Maybe because of the lights, isn't it? Yeah.
Alright, cool.
That is probably the second Kanye West song that's on the playlist. So it seems to be very popular. Yeah.
That's good then.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for being here.
If you've enjoyed this video, please do comment, like, share, and subscribe.